I'm Sherry and this is Gardening in the North. So today we're going to harvest my beets and I'm going to show you how to make beet green powder. So you'll see behind me that I have a protection fence around my raised bed. And the reason I have that is last year I didn't get not one beet because the rabbits ate every single little green that grew. And so this year I thought I wanted to protect them and give them the best chance possible so that I could harvest some beets this year. Some of the beets that I grew were the boulder beets. So they are a gorgeous golden color and they are from Bessie's, which is a seed company located in PEI. I also did Chicago beets, which is a very pretty light pink with a swirl on the inside. And these are Ontario Seed Company seeds. And then I did bull's blood. And these are super dark red, gorgeous color. And they're again from Bessie's. So some of the things that I've done with these beets so far is I've pickled them, 3 different kinds of pickling brine. I have cooked them up and taken the skins off of them and placed them into Ziploc bags that I have placed into the freezer. The thoughts on this are that throughout the winter season, when I don't have enough time, I can grab one of those bags, warm it up, and we have an easy, quick addition to our meals. So you'll see behind me that I have placed a fence around my raised bed. And the reason for this is to protect my beets. Last year I didn't get not one beet, and this year I wanted to ensure that I did get a harvest of beets so that we could preserve them for the winter season. Once I have harvested all these beets out of this box, I'm going to plant Bok Choy. So this is Toy Choy Bok Choy, and it has a growing time period of 30 to 40 days. Our first frost here in Ontario in 5B, where I'm located, is September 29th, October 1st, if we get it. So I think I'm going to be cutting it slightly close. However, if I don't plant them, then there's no chance of me receiving any kind of harvest. If I plant them and take the risk, I might get small ones that we can harvest. Once I've harvested all the beets, I will then pull aside some of the wood chips in the areas where I'm going to be planting the seeds. I'm going to put some new mushroom compost. I'm going to plant my seeds, give them a little bit of water, and then put the wood chips back on top. So we're going to pull all of these out of the box. I'm going to show you the 3 different kinds of beets that I planted, and then we're going to head inside and I'm going to show you how I make beet green powder. A powder that you can use in everything and your kids will never know. I have harvested twice from this box already, and the reason I did that is I was attempting to thin it as I harvest them. So this harvest that I have here is actually only 1/3 of what I've already pulled out of this box. And so I'm going to take you inside and we are going to make beet green powder. Essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove all the beet greens and I'm going to wash them and dry them, place them in the food dehydrator, dehydrate them, and then I'm going to blend them up into powder. Why would I do this, you might be thinking? One of the reasons is my kids don't always eat a lot of vegetables, and this is my way of getting the vegetables into them without them realizing it. So if I make a spaghetti sauce or chili or baked beans or anything like that, I'll throw some of this beet green into it. If I make them a smoothie, I'll throw some of this beet green into it, and they're none the wiser. It's awesome. So come with me. So it's the next day, and all of the freshly washed beet greens are ready to be placed into the food dehydrator. I have the 9-tray Excalibur, and I already know that I'm not going to be able to fill 9 trays. And the reason I say that is I am probably going to be making each tray that I do put into the dehydrator probably about 2.5 to 3 inches high with beet greens. And so what that means is I'm going to have to keep some of the trays out. I think I might be able to fit 4 of them in there, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Before we do that, one of the things I wanted to spend a couple minutes on is compost. I don't know what you guys do with your egg cartons, but I put all of my egg cartons into my compost. And one of the reasons why I do that is because at this time of year, I just find that I'm constantly putting in greens. And in order to have a healthy compost pile that is, you know, turning over and making viable compost, you need to have browns in it too, because the browns provide the carbon. So one of the things that I do is every time we get an egg carton, I actually just rip them up into small pieces and I throw them right into the kitchen composter bin. And then we put our kitchen scraps, veggies and stuff in there. And when we go to empty this, all of this gets thrown into the composter as one bunch. And that's it. And so then I'll do this as well. And I just break it up because, again, you want to make sure that it does break down when it's out in your composter. So I don't know if any of you have noticed that you're putting a lot of greens in your composter and that maybe the smell that is coming from it is a little bit more noticeable than normal. And the problem with that, or the reason for that, is most likely that you don't have enough browns in it. Now, a month from now, you know, it'll be a completely different story because we'll have leaves falling off the trees and we'll be able to take those leaves and put those into the compost and mix it all up. Look at how gorgeous the burgundy leaves are. So pretty. So all I'm going to do is lay them on here. There's no method to it. I'm just laying them on here, making sure that they don't hang off the edges. So I'm actually covering, going over them, laying them on top of each other. The idea is to use up as much of the space as you can, again, without having them hanging over the edges, because you do have to push the tray into the dehydrator and then put the door on. Okay. Now, one of the other things that I've done, or I've included in my greens before, is kale, as well as carrot tops and lettuce that had already kind of gone to seed. They were starting to go to seed, and you know, they were a bit bitter tasting, so I cut those off as well, threw them in here, blended it all up, and made a full green powder to use, like I said, in everything. And the kids don't notice it. That's the best part about it. Okay, so I think this one is pretty good the way I have it here. So I'm going to start by putting this one on the bottom. So I'm gonna put the dehydrator on, and I'm gonna start with about 6 hours. I'll check it, I'll see how dry the leaves are. If I think that they're dry enough, then I'll bring you back and we'll blend them up together. I suspect that it will probably take all night, only because the leaves are pretty fresh. So I think that it's gonna take a little longer than normal. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll leave them outside on a cookie sheet, and I'll let the sun kind of dry them a bit as well, especially if I have something else dehydrating in there at the time. These ones were only picked yesterday, so the leaves are still pretty fresh. I think that it's probably not going to be ready till tomorrow, but I'll take a look, and if it is, I'll bring you back. It took approximately 15 hours for all of the beet greens to fully dehydrate. I checked it at about the 10-hour mark, and I did notice that some of the stems on some of the beet greens were still a little bit soft, so I left them back in. I had my dehydrator set at 105, and I set it at herbs as opposed to setting it for vegetables. I wanted to make sure that I dehydrated it at the right temperature. So one of the great things about beet greens is it provides you with vitamin K. Vitamin K provides you calcium, magnesium, iron, and copper. And so if my sister is watching this, she should be eating this because she's low in iron. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna put a bunch into the Vitamix. I'm going to blend it up and show you what the powder looks like. And so you don't have to worry about how much you put in. I'm just going to put it in and push it down. Okay. Okay. Now I always start it off a little bit slower and then gradually turn it up as opposed to just putting it on full blast. So let's have a look. You can see the powder already coming out at the top here. I'm just going to give it a second to simmer down. Okay. I'm going to grab a spoon. I just want to be able to show you the powder. And there it is there. Okay. And so I'm just going to put it into the jar that I've already started. And again, I do not only do beet greens. I do carrot tops, I do lettuce, I do kale, and I just mix it all together, and nobody knows that they're getting amazing nutrients in every meal that I put this in. So if you have somebody who's fussy at home, this is the way to go. One other thing that I want to show you, I use these dries, and I got them from Amazon, and they're just little moisture absorbers. They're about that big. And so what I do is I put it in the bottom of my lid, and I only do this as a precaution in the event that any moisture gets in here. And so every time you open up the jar, there's potential moisture getting in. And so that's why I put this in here, just to stop any bacteria from growing. So if you try this and you put it in one of your meals, leave me a comment below letting me know if anyone noticed. Thanks for sharing your time with me.